I'm landing in a country that requires all foreigners to have an armed security detail in order to get the visa. Because on July 10th, 2023, a military coup is enacted in Niger. But what I expected to find in Niger is not the reality. Visiting a country with an active coup brings a lot of uncertainty. And while I thought I'd be met with a lot of hostility and that things would be very difficult, things have gone completely different than I thought they would. Instead, I'm eating dried camel cheese and meeting incredibly kind people. Okay, this is potentially the hottest place I've ever been in the world, but it's all worth it. Come with me to experience the sights, the tastes, the sounds.
Come with me to Niger,
the country that truly surprised me.
You're welcome.
I just landed in Niger and I'm being welcomed by our guide and translator. It is 11 p.m. at night, so first things first, we're getting to our hotel, which is $120 per night, and sleeping.
So it's day one in Niger. We are really tired because we just had an overnight flight from Istanbul.
And if I'm being completely honest, we had a lot of wine in Istanbul on that 12-hour layover.
But we're ready to go. We have a 5-hour drive today.
This is Hotel Terminus. The company that we have contracted to take us around is called Niger Travel and Tours. They are a very well-known company, and their office is actually located on the premises of this hotel, so it made it easy.
Day one. This country 118 for me, 77.
I know we seem really tired, and we are. So we're having some fruit and some Cocoa Puffs with these kitties to keep us company.
Hi. Hi, babies. Hi.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we hired a tour guide for this and also a security detail.
Basically because we want to get from point A to point B and see all the different things, and also we speak absolutely no French, so let's go.
And when I say security, I mean armed security. It's not that we're scared of the people in the country or the situation, but because of the active coup that happened in July 2023, essentially everyone in the government at all of the checkpoints sees anyone who looks like they aren't from Niger and assumes that they are French. To make a very complicated matter condensed into a few-second explanation, the reason why it would be bad if they thought that we were French is because all of the French people have been kicked out of the country. This is because France colonized Niger in about 1922. So it's been 100 years of colonization, and Niger is over it. Therefore, all of the French people have been completely kicked out of the country, and someone might want to kidnap us if they think that we're French. Okay, let's get back to the road and back into the more interesting part of this journey. Niamey is a very cool city, and we will spend more time there at the end of our trip. But for now, we are driving to Dosso. I keep seeing these little huts, and I'm really wondering what they are. Apparently, they're for storing food, but I'll get to more of that in a minute, because we've arrived in Dosso. Of course, we have our security in tow, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better now. Honestly, it is a super weird feeling having security like this. I've never been in a situation where I had an entire crew of armed security with us.
Every time we stop, these guys get out of the car to protect us. Feels so special. Are we supposed to get out, by the way?
Obviously, we are a little bit confused on how to act, but I'm sure we'll get used to it soon. For now, we've arrived somewhere pretty cool. This is the Sultan's Palace. The palace was built in the 17th century, and we are lucky enough to get a look at it today. But first, before we do anything, we have to ask permission from all of these different people. Well, we're not really asking because we're not speaking English here. And then there's a designated person who's here to greet us and give us some information in English this time.
Si vous avez des questions à poser dans le salon, on peut échanger.
Obviously, we're getting a little bit of help with the translation. Once we handled all of that, it's time to step inside. Now, the Sultan is actually not alive anymore. He passed away. And they have not had a Sultan for about 1 year now. It's really incredible to see the way that this house is constructed. It's so intricate and it's extremely unique. Now, there are many sultans in Niger, and it's actually very similar to northern Nigeria, like Kano, if you would have seen that in my video of Nigeria. Here is the tree of all of the different sultans. They have been related in one way or another. As I mentioned, the last sultan was ruling from 2000 until 2023. This is where things kind of get interesting, but behind this door is a drum. There are only 5 times that they take out the drum. One is to declare war. The second, when a sultan dies. In this case, they will actually break the drum and put on a new skin. This is just a replica. They will play it north, south, east, and west 4 times on each side. When a sultan dies, he will be buried with all of the other sultans here. It is a great honor to be buried here. Now we're walking into an actual room where they have different meetings, and it's a little bit eerie in here because I know they're not totally having meetings in here right now because there is no sultan. They have these chairs where the Sultan sits, and they've been covered since the last Sultan passed away. And basically, they're just waiting for a new Sultan to be elected or chosen. I didn't totally understand the process of picking the new Sultan. This is an easier way to see the different Sultans and the years that they were actually ruling. So the first Sultan started in 1700, and I thought it was cool that even throughout the colonial rule, they still maintained their Sultans. And obviously, there are only photos from the last 8 Sultans. They're all very well educated and esteemed people in society. It's not just by lineage. Dilara actually noticed that this was an Ottoman pin and it's upside down, so we thought that was very interesting. But they told us that they got it from France during the Second World War. Now, I told you that there was a connection to northern Nigeria, and if you can see that stick there in the center, this is a shield, but the stick is actually from the Nigerian emir in Kebbi, and the Sultan of Dosso cannot become the Sultan until he receives that stick. Now, it's almost time for us to leave, but we're just kind of strolling the property and feeling the walls because they are from the 17th century. Really just admiring all of the architecture, and there's also some really cool murals over here. The people in this region are, for the most part, Hausa, and this is traditional Hausa prints. Now we're heading back with our security, jumping in the car, and on to the next destination.
It's pretty hot.
I did not realize this before we came, but this is the hottest month to visit. Now all of a sudden we've stopped.
So right now our detail is smoking cigarettes and peeing and stuff, and we're literally so hot using this fan and trying to get AC. Dying. It's so hot here. Like, I can't even explain how hot it is. Feels hotter.
Do you understand that it's hot yet? Okay, well, we are on our way from Dosso to Dogondutchi. As I mentioned before, in total we are spending about 5 hours on the road, but we are almost at Dogondutchi, and we will be spending the night here. But for now, it is time to get some lunch. We are having lunch at this hotel. There is not much going on here right now as it is very hot and it is directly in the middle of the day. There is a lot of meat that is consumed in Niger, but we do not eat meat, we only eat fish, so we did say that we would like some fish for today.
We're here. We're gonna have lunch in Dogondutchi. I'm really excited what we're gonna eat. It is extremely hot here. I have been to some hot places, but this maybe is one of the hottest. This is pretty crazy.
This is what we were served for lunch. It is vegetables and rice, and there's some fish under there, and then it has a tomato-based sauce on top of it. First, it is customary that we should wash our hands.
Just washing our hands before we eat.
The lizards in Niger are next level. They are so big and so colorful. They are super cool. I do feel like I knew someone who had one of these as a pet at some point in my life though. I definitely prefer seeing them in the wild. Now, although we are basically in Dogondutchi, we still need to drive a little bit more to get to our hotel. So let's load back.
It's already day.
Dogondutchi to Konni, building by Suma, Turkish.
Turkey has done a lot of road work and work in general in different African countries, and the road that we're driving on is one of them. So as we've stopped in traffic, we were looking around, and there are lots of different people that are trying to sell us different things. So it's time to try something new.
So cool. So cool.
It's actually cheese.
So I ended up eating a lot of it, and I actually do really like it, but there was a flavor that I couldn't put my finger on that was not familiar, and I guess the way they make it is they just lay camel milk out in the sun. So that explains that.
It's natural.
Okay guys, finally the heat has gotten to me and I am out. Thank you to Dilara for capturing this. I keep saying this, but you have to have a travel pillow with you. It makes sleeping anywhere way more comfortable. Now we are finally pulling up to Dogondutchi, and I'm still a little bit tired because of the heat, but I am refreshed. This hotel is about $60 per night, so it's a little bit cheaper than the one that we stayed at in Niamey, and it's time to go check out the room. When we walked in, I was pretty surprised because it's very spacious. We have this whole couch area, and sure, it's not the Four Seasons, but we have a little view over here, and it's pretty comfortable. This is the bathroom area, and they don't always have hot water in all parts of West Africa when you're at this level of accommodation. Now, we need to state that very specifically because some people said that I said that there is no hot water in West Africa. That is not true, but because it's so hot, it's not always necessary. So we'll see if this hotel has hot water. I think right now we're more worried about the AC working than anything. The internet doesn't work here, so we're gonna head out and try and find some internet. But just look. And when I say that we're going to find internet, we are going to get a SIM card for our extra phone that we carry with us. Most of the time in different countries, we buy eSIMs. But because for Niger specifically, the eSIMs are pretty expensive, we decided that it would be better to just buy a bunch of data at a lower price for our extra phone. But normally I prefer to use eSIMs because it's way easier and a lot less hassle. So I'm literally falling asleep right now, but I totally forgot what happened earlier. Basically, we went down to get food and it was iftar time after iftar. So there should have been food. And they said food finished. It was only 8 o'clock. Doesn't make any sense, but I'm gonna sleep now. Day 2 in Niger. They ran out of iftar last night, which means we didn't get to have dinner. We had some fruit, but we need real breakfast. Can you believe it's only day 2? We are really cramming a lot in. But honestly, because we don't eat meat, a lot of times we end up eating fruit and bread primarily when we're in West Africa. However, breakfast usually doesn't disappoint because we can have some eggs as well. As we're eating breakfast, I'm just looking out through the fence here, and it's nice to see the beautiful farmland, but it's only 7:40 in the morning. I know you are sick of me talking about how hot it is, but it is so freaking hot. I'll check in a little bit and show you how hot it is later today. So we have some eggs. I'm not really super big on eating eggs anymore, but hey, we will take what we can get. But there's this really spicy, tastes like jalapeno kind of, this, and it's pretty good. It tastes pretty good. Day 2 in Niger. As it's starting to get a little bit later, there's a lot of children who are walking to school, and it's really cute. Now I guess all of the cows are waking up because they're walking past and they've just started mooing uncontrollably. But also interesting to see kids walking to school versus kids who are herding cattle. They are probably about the same age, and some have to work and some have the privilege of going to school. Also, did you see that little cow skip right there? So cute. Good morning to our security detail. We can see them already chilling out there waiting for us to go out. As you can see, we have our security detail behind us. I wasn't totally aware that it was going to be like this, so it makes sense now why it is a very expensive trip. It's an experience. Amazing. Perfect extraction. Like home. This company did send me this, but this is not like a promotion for this video. I'm just so amazed by this machine, and we literally use it all the time. It's so good. I'm hoping that you were able to catch that, but basically this machine is from Oitin. They did send it to me about a year or a year and a half ago, but we carry it with us on all of our travels now. Unfortunately, we sometimes get coffee headaches because we drink coffee every single day. And there are a lot of countries that have more tea than coffee, so for us to have our little coffee fix of the day, it's really good to have this automatic machine. Also, they keep talking to us about the danger and why we need to have the police with us, so I wanted to ask him about it.
What is the danger? You know what I mean?
The day?
Like the danger? Like there's danger? Like what is the danger?
So, without any some robbers, there's no any danger in Niger.
Okay, so there aren't really robbers?
No, because yes, in Niger we don't know it. We don't know any danger in Niger, but only without that. That's why you see we have this military escort or something like this. Just because of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, without that, don't know any danger.
So to be honest, I don't really feel like I got a full picture of what he was saying in this moment. But we did have other conversations, and what I told you earlier about the potential of being kidnapped due to people thinking that we're French is a real danger and something that we didn't want to risk. Also, we've been going through quite a lot of checkpoints that I have not been able to film. So it would probably have been a real pain in the ass to get through those checkpoints. I keep seeing these little house-like looking structures almost, so I really want to go check them out.
So these are the warehouses where people store onions and grains and things like that. But this is where the Hausa people store their food, and it's made with mud. Now Godi. Now Godi? Now Godi.
Maybe our accent is bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are talking to it.
Yeah.
I was basically trying to use some of my Hausa. They were also kids, so they were a little bit shy. We started to walk over to these women because they were doing something with these grains.
Sanu. Oh, that's how they.
How they remove this.
Wow.
Yeah, and then keep
So, this is the process of removing the millet from the actual stick.
I hope this goes without saying, but I obviously ask everyone if they are okay with being filmed beforehand. I was so taken aback at how kind and how open these women were to us filming them. They were explaining in Hausa exactly what they were doing. This is an extremely laborious process to remove the berry from the actual stem, but this grain is extremely important to the people who live here. Not only do they just cook it, but they can dry it and make it into a flour as well.
Wow.
Yes, this is what they mean.
I'll go the.
Towards the end, other women and children came out and everybody was laughing, and it was such a great moment. Now we are arriving in the village of Yama. It is a village known for its architecture. It feels super weird to have the security with us at all times, but people are still being super friendly, which I'm so glad because I would be worried that it would scare some people off. But definitely not, because all of these kids came up to us when we pulled up to our next stop. They kept shouting that they wanted to take a photo, so we took a photo and we showed it to them afterwards. They were super, super cute.
Right now we're just waiting to be let in to see the mosque.
But you can see how crazy this would be with the security, right? So one of the chief elders who is in charge had to let us into the area to check out the mud mosque, and wow, look at this architecture. It is so impressive. And then we got to meet the architect of the actual mud mosque. So that man sitting on the ground is the architect. He told us that he has won some awards for his mud mosques. Okay, but I am super excited to check it out inside because usually they're even cooler inside than they are on the outside.
Taking our shoes off and we're going inside the mosque.
kaɗan ne ake zuwa bari mu ta gaɗa guda dalla za mu yi ba gaggawa ne muke ba suna ga yin foto har shigan ma ɗauka ne suke
Now, as you can see and maybe hear, there are tons of bats that have made the mud mosque their home.
Oh, okay.
This is the place for Friday prayer, but listen to those bats. It is pretty dark in here, so I'm sorry that the footage is not the best quality. But now it's time for us to climb up because this is a pretty tall mud mosque. I am very excited to see what we see when we get up to the top. Because this is the village of Yama. The entire village is constructed out of mud. Well, mud mixed with straw. It is extremely impressive.
We're here on the roof of the mosque. What a nice view it is. You can see everything.
All of a sudden, it seemed that some of the children in the village saw that we were up there and that we were visitors, so people started to congregate and say hello. Now, if anything, you know I'm going to try at least my best to say something in the local language, so I was trying to say Sanu, which is hello.
Sanu, Sanu.
I'm not hearing any Sanu.
Sanu.
My accent is bad, I guess.
To my left, I can see that they are butchering a sheep. This isn't pleasant for me to see, but it is the circle of life and it is how people live here, so I do like to see that.
So everything behind me is made out of mud and straw. The dome-like structures are made to take care of the food, so it protects all of the food and holds it in there, like millet and onions. And then on this side we have mainly houses, the village. See, there's some kids down there.
As you can probably hear, the wind is blowing like crazy, and of course, it is still extremely hot. I honestly feel like our feet are definitely burning because we don't have any shoes on.
Wow, it's a lot cooler in there.
Because my feet are actually burning as I walk here.
We're up at the very top and now we're going back down. I think for everyone else this is very hard, but for me it's not that bad because I'm pretty short.
Because I'm short, if you didn't get that. All in all, this is such an impressive mosque. But something that stuck out to me was that they did not ask us to cover our hair and they did not care how we were dressed.
Now we're just walking through the village. There's a lot of storage for grain here.
As I mentioned before, they were butchering an animal here because that is going to be food for the village. As someone who does not eat meat, I do not enjoy seeing this, but as I mentioned before as well, I think it's really interesting to see the way that other people live and how quickly they broke down that animal was so impressive.
So this is the women's part of the mosque where women pray, and we were just in the main part, which is where all of the men pray.
It's a lot smaller because women are not obligated to pray at the mosque in Islam. Now you can see at this point a lot of the kids in the village started to crowd around us because they were interested to see who the visitors were. And our security with us, of course. Do you see how these walls are set up though? It is so freaking cool to see this style of architecture. It is so impressive. Even the goats love it because they can rub themselves on it. I hope you've enjoyed a bit of a village tour, but now it is time for us to leave.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Nagodi. Nagodi. Bye.
Considering the situation that's happening in the country right now, people have been incredibly friendly and welcoming. It is not something that I anticipated, but I am really happy. We passed a camel market, but I promised to update you on the weather. It is 102 right now at only 1:30 in the afternoon. And again, this is not even the hottest day of the week. I swear it feels so much hotter than this though. The car really can't even keep up with the heat. We stopped on the side of the road for some tea.
Tea in the car. Yummy. Ooh, that is interesting. Wow.
See, the flavor was good, but it was very strong with many herbs and then extremely, extremely sweet. I think it would have been better if it wasn't so sweet. A few moments later, it was time to stop for lunch. This was one of my favorite lunches that we had. That sauce was so tasty. And of course, we got some watermelon. Yum. Now let's check out our room for the night. It is kind of almost in a cave-like vibe. Now, obviously here we have the bed at first, and then there is also the bathroom that is located right here. Both the shower and the toilet are in the same place. We do have a fan, but I couldn't believe that there was actually an air conditioning unit as well. And then there's a second bedroom through here, through this curtain, but that was really stuffy, so neither of us really want to sleep in there. After a bit of rest, we went outside.
We're going out for dinner and... Oh, is it the mosque? Oh, I thought it was an animal. Oh my god, I was scared for a minute. Hopefully they have food for us today. Yesterday, somehow they ran out, even though it's iftar. I think people would be hungry. How's it going?
At least we have that fan blasting, but do you see all of these lights that are going off? Just waiting for dinner, having a bit of a party. These lights. I feel like this place would be fun if you were getting down. Dinner was pretty tasty. That salad was absolutely amazing.
I cannot even explain how good it feels to have showered. It's crazy. The water is basically hot or warm just because it's so hot outside. And it's just so refreshing. It's pretty incredible. Good morning. It's smoky here in Dogondutchi. Just heading to breakfast and then time to do something cool today. Our breakfast. We're partying, obviously, at 7:30 in the morning.
So obviously those lights were not just for the party last night, but also for our eggs this morning. Now we've hopped in the car and we are going somewhere very, very cool. I feel like I say this about everywhere that we go in Niger, but so far this trip has been one of my favorite countries. Despite having to have this armed security with us, overall people have been super nice, everything we've seen has been super interesting, and today will be no different.
Now we're at one of the only places where the West African white giraffe exists.
Where we're at is essentially the conservation of these giraffes, so obviously I was quite surprised to see a bunch of skulls sitting here on the table. They were just picked up from around this national park area and the protected land, so I assume they died from natural causes, but it is incredibly interesting to see the skins still on there. Right now we're just waiting to get the go-ahead and to have our ranger come with us, so we're just kind of looking at everything. Actually, the main guy here thought that we were kind of being sus, looking at all the posters, but we had nothing better to do and it was hot in the car. The main ranger here is that guy in the center, and he looked incredibly bored, like he didn't want to be here with us. But hey, we're just glad that he's here because he is the person that can supposedly spot these giraffes. Now, similar to any safari, there is a lot of driving involved. You have to drive and look around, try to spot the animals. But after about 30 minutes of driving, I was questioning whether or not we were actually going to find these white giraffes. But I was told that there are 913 giraffes in this area, so let's go find them. Finally, we turned in and it seemed like we were stopping. He must have spotted something. We were told not to get out of the car yet, and we are freaking hot. Okay, no, it was a false alarm. We are going to continue trekking on. All right, now we've actually stopped and it definitely seems like he has spotted something.
Now we're gonna get out and observe the giraffes, which is a little crazy.
I say that this is crazy because we literally just walked on foot and basically started doing a walking safari. I see the giraffes down there just chilling. Hopefully they don't run away. Can you see them right there in the distance? Those are the white giraffes. They look the same, but they're white. I know I just said that they look the same, but when you really zoom in and you really compare, you can definitely see a bit of a difference. Can you tell the difference? This is the white giraffe, and then here is a giraffe from South Africa, which is considered just to be a regular giraffe. The regular giraffe is also a baby, but I thought it was so cute that I had to include it there. We are literally like 100 feet from these giraffes. This is so crazy. Now, although this one giraffe is standing up, I noticed something particularly weird about them. The giraffes are sitting down. That is how hot it is here. I have never seen a giraffe do this otherwise. Time to get back in the car because it is super hot. I know that I've been saying it's super hot here, but this was probably our hottest moment. First of all, the car is off-roading. It is basically overheated as well. And of course, we were sitting out there in the sun for a while. So I'm literally about to faint. But it was such an incredible experience. We even saw a few more giraffes, so we stopped off to look at them again. I don't think I'm doing it justice how great this experience was, but it was really, really special.
Behind me are the Germa warehouses. They are made from grass and they store beans, peanuts, millet. Underneath, the animals are taking refuge from the hot sun, but it's really interesting to see how the different ethnic groups store their food in different ways.
Now, I've already felt extremely welcomed in Niger, but this day really took the cake. As we started walking towards here, people came out.
Now we're gonna go inside.
These men literally ran as they saw us coming towards here because they wanted to show us the inside of their grain storage. Each of these warehouses, as they were called, has millet from many different families.
As you can see, there's a bunch of millet inside, and there are some other sticks and other items as well, and it keeps it cooler than if it were in the sun, baking and getting older, so they can store it for longer.
One of those bushels right there is for one family, so they'll harvest it when it's time to harvest, and then also be able to use it in the winter when there's no food growing. If you can remember the method in which we saw the woman before who was taking the millet off of the stalk, this is a similar method, but obviously a little bit different. He really wanted us to try it and to taste it. And again, this was just such a kind interaction. Then he wanted us to hold it.
Is it heavy? Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, these are the travel moments that I live for. But now we're back on the road and heading to the capital, Niamey.
So in Niamey, there is no risk for getting kidnapped, so we can go say goodbye to our security now.
We didn't get super close with our security detail just out of respect for their space and professionalism, but they were always really nice and gave us a smile.
Bye-bye! Finally got our passports back. Always so weird not to have your passport when you're traveling. There's like a bunch of peacocks here. And another one right there. It's okay. Be scared. It's okay.
Okay, I know I'm weird. Well, now it's time to go explore Niamey. Now, we really were not supposed to film, but we were passing some of the embassies. French embassy has been completely abandoned, which was totally wild. So this is the United States embassy.
It's crazy. And it's red.
Yeah, this is very big, largest embassy.
In general, I'm really enjoying the vibe of Niamey. I think that if you just wanted to come to the capital, you would definitely not need to hire security at all. I am really excited to see what is in the future for Niger, since they are reclaiming their power. As night is falling, it is time to get some food because, well, we're hungry and it's nice to explore the city at night as well. Now, if you know me, then you know I love street food, so I'm looking out and trying to see if there's anything that looks good. And guess what? I spotted something.
Now I'm trying masa in Niger. I've had it in Nigeria. Now it's time to try it here.
Do you remember when I tried masa in Nigeria? If not, let me do a little recap for you. Masa is made from a fermented rice flour, so it's very good for your gut. That healthiness is slightly counteracted by frying it in the pan with a bunch of oil, but it is similar to a pancake. All of a sudden, the lady wanted me to cook them.
Masa?
Yeah, masa.
They were taking photos and they were filming me, so I was kind of putting on a little bit of a show for them. It was a lot of fun. And of course, just another continuation of the good vibes in Niger.
So this is masa from Niger. It's very crispy. And I can taste the fermentation more.
Masa that I had in Nigeria had some peanuts on top of it, and it also had some cabbage, which was really yummy. So once I got back in the car, I went to try one, and I saw this little thing inside, and I was like, is that an orange slice, or what is that? But I realized it's peanut sauce. Yes! Definitely gonna add something to it.
It feels a lot better now that it's nighttime and it's not quite literally 105 degrees. I think it's about 85 now, and it's perfect temperature.
To finish off our dinner for the night, we decided that we wanted to grab some fruit, so we went and we found some mangoes, and I had to bargain with this guy. It's time for us to leave Niger, packing up all our stuff. Sad. It's been an amazing trip. Can you tell I'm exhausted here? We had about a 3-hour sleep and woke up at the crack of dawn.
It's crazy. It's pitch black, super dark.
That was one of the peacocks, by the way. Now we're at the airport and we're saying goodbye to our amazing guide and driver. This was a short, albeit expensive trip, but I would recommend coming to Niger to pretty much anyone. Everyone was so kind and welcoming. The experiences were wonderful, but it's on to the next country.
Let's go to...
Not so fast. If we can even get on the plane.
We are the only people boarding the plane right now. Yes. Oh. Kind of weird. This doesn't seem right. He said turn right. Maybe he meant left? They told us to turn right, but there's literally nobody in this hall, and I'm pretty sure this is an arrivals hall, and now I think we're like an illegal part of the airport. Maybe there? Oh god. Oh god. Okay. Hello? Hello? Okay, we found our way. Us and the other 6 people that are on the plane with us.
Okay, there's about 6 of us boarding this plane, and I'm not going to tell you where we're going next. You might already know because of my shorts. But thanks for watching, and I'm super excited to get into all of your questions in the Q&A. Hope you enjoyed this journey through Niger with me. I would love to come back and see more parts of this country because it is such an interesting country. I really wish the best for Nigerians. I hope you do a little bit of your own research on the topic of the coup and where it came from, where it stemmed from, the colonial history, and keep some space and some love in your heart for the people of Niger, because they definitely had a lot of space for us while we were visiting their home. See you in the Q&A. Hi, and welcome to the Q&A. I'm really excited to get into it. Let's start with the first question. Hi, love your channel. I'd like to ask how expensive would traveling to Niger be, because it sounds lovely. It was expensive, mainly because of paying for the security detail. I do have a short on this. So the total price of our security detail was 1,580 euro. So that ends up being $1,738. There were also hotel costs, which was anywhere from $60 to $200 per day. Then there's meals, tips, getting there, leaving the country, and in total we spent about $4,000 for 2 people for 4 days. That is obviously a very expensive trip, especially when it's not really a luxurious trip. But obviously, this is somewhere that I really wanted to travel to, and I felt like it was an amazing experience, so it was definitely worth it for me. But it's probably one of the more expensive countries that I've ever traveled to. Next question. Solo or with a guide, and can you recommend which tour company? So we did hire a tour company, a guide. If you want that company, please contact me on Instagram. I just don't really want to blast them on here, or in case their number changes, it just doesn't make any sense. So just hit me up on Instagram and I can send you that. If you only wanted to go to the capital, then I definitely think you would have no issue going there by yourself. And I also think that you'd probably be able to get the visa, but in order to get the permits and things like that, it just makes more sense to hire the security, do what the government is asking you, just to avoid any issues. I definitely felt really safe the entire time that I was in Niger, but obviously we had that security with us and we had them to help us get through the checkpoints. I do want to say that I don't think it's dangerous to be traveling in Niger because of the people. As I spoke about in the video, because of the coup, anyone who seems like they are not from Niger is seen as a foreigner and somebody who could potentially be French. Just because it is very fresh, it's only been about a year since the coup, you don't want to mess with that. You don't want to risk getting kidnapped. You don't want to be in a situation that you might be held for ransom. Just not worth it. Or at least for me, it's not worth it. I am Algerian, just graduated, and I want to visit a country in my continent. Which country would you advise me to try for a noob traveler? I usually say the first country that you should visit in Africa is Kenya, because a lot of people think of the African continent and they think of safari, which is fair because there's quite a few number of countries that do offer safari. Obviously, that's not all the continent has to offer. It's incredibly diverse and it's such a special continent because of that. But I think Kenya definitely gives the best of both worlds. You can go on safari, and then Tanzania is also right there. So you can also go to Tanzania and maybe experience some of the nature activities that exist there. And you can also do beach if you're interested in that. So there is Mombasa, which is kind of the beach coast of Kenya. And then there's also Zanzibar in Tanzania. If you're a hiker, you can hike Mount Kilimanjaro. So there's just a diverse range of activities that you can do in both of those countries, and they're easy to cross between. But it's also a very difficult question to answer because for me, one of my favorite countries in Africa has been Ethiopia. I just loved the variety that the country has. Also, I think the culture is really special and really interesting. But as someone from Algeria, you might feel more comfortable with a Arab-influenced country because that might be something that's more something that you're used to. Similar to how people from the United States often visit the UK first because they can speak the same language. It makes sense if you're a noob traveler, as you said, to go somewhere where you would feel comfortable and it might be easy. Having said that, in Tanzania, there is also some type of Arab influence because they do speak Arabic there. So an Algerian might want to visit Egypt. Obviously, the pyramids are something that almost everybody has heard of in the world, and it's definitely something really special. There's also a lot of other areas of Egypt that are incredible to visit. So as an Algerian, you might feel more comfortable visiting Egypt first. It's also a lot closer to Algeria, so it would be cheaper to get there. But again, that is only for your first country because there are so many amazing countries to visit in Africa, and you can't just pick one, right? You gotta go to more than one. What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about Niger and the region as a whole? That is a tough question. I think in general, a lot of people are very ignorant about how diverse Africa is as a continent. I think people like to group in West Africa as one thing that they have in their mind. Niger is technically in West Africa, but West Africa is huge. There are so many different countries, there's so many different languages, so many different cultures, even just within Niger. I mean, I barely saw the country, right? There are the Tuareg people, and there are the regions that I didn't get to go to, mainly because of the cost, but I would really love to visit more parts of Niger in the future. Having said that, let's get back to the question. Misconceptions. I hate to even put this out there, but I think maybe people think that certain countries in Africa aren't civilized just because they don't follow the same societal ways of, I would say, Eurocentric culture. In general, I think people like to make out African countries to be uncivilized just because they're following maybe older practices and different ways of life than what other people are used to. But I think that's in general kind of the purpose of traveling, is to learn about other people's ways of life and to see these incredible ways of life that have been existing for hundreds, if not thousands of years, that function and work very well. Also, maybe another misconception is that people in Niger or the country of Niger was better off with French colonialists there. Obviously, that is not what I believe, and obviously not what the country of Niger believes, but colonialism exists for a reason, and that is because certain people believe that what they think is better than others, and they think that they can benefit off of the country that they're helping. And I don't want to get too much into it just because I'm not super well versed on these politics, and I don't want to say the wrong thing or have it be misinterpreted in the wrong way. But I definitely think that Niger is hopefully moving in a good direction for themselves and going to come out on the other end of this coup stronger than before. How do you have the funds to travel? It must be very expensive. I get this a lot. It is expensive. This is my job. I do this every day. I put many hours into the videos that I make. I do get paid from views. It's not huge. Obviously, I'm not getting millions of views on my videos. So share, like, subscribe if you want to help me out and help me make more videos to share with everybody. I do work with brands, not a ton because I try not to flood my subscribers with tons of ads, but I do work with companies that I really like you may have seen me work with companies in my last few videos, and I always really appreciate when you guys support those companies because I really believe in the companies that I work with. I don't work with companies that I don't like the product. And that's why sometimes maybe you might see me work with kind of random things, because as a person, I like random different things. I actually showed in the video, I have that espresso maker that was gifted to me a long time ago, but I keep sharing that just because it's such a cool device to have espresso on the go. I've worked with many different eSIM companies that I like to use. A different hair oil that I collaborated with on TikTok, lip gloss. Hey, anything that I use that wants to work with me, I'm down to work with them. So that is where a majority of my income comes from, for sure, as well as UGC, which is when I make videos. Basically, I make ads and commercials for brands. Now, they used to hire big companies to do this, but they realized they can pay content creators much less to create them ads. You may have also seen me on a car insurance commercial. Unfortunately, I think I only got paid $300 for that, which may seem like a lot, but I wrote, produced, did everything for that a couple years ago, and they're still running that ad. So now I would ask for some kind of compensation for them to be running that as a whitelisting ad or on YouTube ads, but hey, it's fun that people get to see me in a commercial, I guess. So I do have more about this in my long form Q&A, just my total Q&A video when I'm opening my silver 100,000 subscriber plaque. So I started an online fitness business when I was 18. I'm not going to get too much into it. Please go watch that other video because I explain everything. Then I started a different business that was more in kind of the tech world and marketing. And now I do this on many different levels. Marketing, creating videos, recording every aspect of my travels, even when I'm exhausted or throwing up, as you saw in my Amazon video. Now, I feel super lucky to be able to make videos for a living, essentially. So it is a job. I know that it's not the most difficult job. It's literally a passion, and I'm so lucky that I get to be doing it, but it is a job. Every time you see somebody that has a couple 100,000 subscribers, you know, I have 360,000 subscribers on TikTok and 180 something thousand on Instagram, and then over 200,000 here. When people have that amount of following, usually they can monetize it. So now I'm able to monetize it. I was able to stop doing my last business with the SEO and the marketing and focus fully on this. And I think that I'm able to put out better content because of it. Next question. What stood out the most to you while being in Niger? I think what stood out to me the most was just how kind people were. There was no need for people to be as kind as they were to us. We would be walking up to someone's home or property, or like you saw, the warehouses, and people were just willing to open them and share their culture and their way of life with us. And I just thought that was so incredible and sweet. I mean, imagine you're on your front porch and someone is looking at the flowers in your garden. Okay, maybe some of us would be like, oh, would you like to check it out? Let me tell you about it. But not everybody. Definitely not everybody. And for people to just be so open and so kind, that's what stood out to me the most. And I really appreciated that. And Dilara definitely did too. We just talked about how kind and how open people were with us, even though they had no need to be. They were not being paid. They just randomly saw us wandering there with security, which you would think they would want to avoid security. I definitely am not walking up to somebody that has a bunch of security with them. So it was just the kindness of strangers, which I think is a repetitive pattern throughout traveling in general, is that people are just so kind in the world, and there are so many good people versus the bad ones. And I think that's maybe hard because we're bombarded with so many angry and violent and damaging messages every day in the media. All we see is the bad. I think we rarely see the good unless maybe it's about a dog. But there really are so many beautiful moments that go unnoticed and go unfilmed, and just positive people in the world. And I'm so sorry, Genmar9428. I know that you asked me for the driver, and I'm so sorry that I didn't see your message, but I am going to go try and look through all my folders. It's hard on Instagram, you know, there's a lot of different folders for content creators on there, and sometimes things get lost in the shuffle. So I do my best. If you can comment on a video or something and be like, hey, you told me you were going to send me the driver, or comment here or anything, and I will do my best to get it to you, because I definitely want to get you that information. But I can tell you that the tour company is technically called Zenith Tours, I believe. Anyways, if you really are interested in going to Niger, let me know and I will give you the contact. All right, this was a little bit short. Sorry about that. There actually weren't too many questions. I think I need to post more long form videos because my algorithm is getting shifted off. But again, like and subscribe, share. I really appreciate it. I love being able to reach people that care about my travel videos and care about seeing the world as much as I do. It's so nice to have this community. So thank you, everybody, and tune in for the next one because that one's coming way faster, I promise. Bye.